Welcome back, Trans Theorists, to another episode of Fixing Transformers. And in today's we're going to take a look at Bonecrushers' alternate death in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Now if you haven't watched my original Bonecrusher video explaining why he was in Revenge of the Fallen, I would highly recommend you to do so, since this video is basically a direct continuation of that one. But for the people who have already seen it, let's proceed to Bonecrusher's last sighting, and that would have been when he was fighting off Ironhide and the RC triplets. And as I stated in my last Bonecrusher video, Bonecrusher was killed in the Operation Firestorm airstrike, which for the time seemed like the most likely scenario since he was not in Dark of the Moon. But this would all fall flat once we would see Bonecrusher on the Star Harvester when the Fallen uses his telekinesis powers to lift up all the tanks and soldiers that were shooting at him. And if you look to the far right, Bonecrusher makes a cameo in his vehicle form, until the Fallen would drop him to his death down the pyramid. But this theory is not over yet because we still have to figure out how Bonecrusher escaped the blast zone of Operation Firestorm. And luckily for us, the film indirectly gives us hints on how this happened. The first thing that we have to break down is why would Bonecrusher retreat from Ironhide? He's definitely not the one to flee from a battle, since in the first film he challenged Optimus Prime to a wrestling match in the middle of a freeway. He also in the scene gets the assistance from Starscream to take out Ironhide, which is one of the factors why Ironhide was extremely damaged while running out of the blast zone, ultimately leading him to lose his beloved cannons. And this all can be reinforced using the RC triplets. We saw Elita 1 and RC both get fatally wounded while Chromia would seek for cover, and since we don't see any of them again, it's safe to say that they were taken out by Starscream or Bonecrusher while Ironhide was trying his hardest to protect them, which ultimately allowed him to let his damage levels get so high due to how many shots he was taking trying to protect them. And this is all proven if you just look at his broken body. And I wish I could have incorporated some dialogue of this battle more so in Dark of the Moon, as some character development for Ironhide, kinda showing though how tough he is, he can't always win and save everyone. Which gets me into my next point. Since Starscream and Bonecrusher were winning the battle, why did they retreat? Well, we first gotta put in mind, from the scene of Bonecrusher fighting off Ironhide, to the fighter jets flying above to drop the bombs, is a full 7 minutes and 34 seconds in film time, and in the first 5 seconds of this clip, Elita and RC are down for the count. So I think that it's reasonable to say that Ironhide would have not lasted the full 7 minutes, fighting the two of them off, which is why he didn't. Let me explain. After Ironhide told Sam to get to the pillars, Sam and Michaela would make their way to revive Optimus, and since Sam would have the Matrix, Starscream ordered Bonecrusher to follow them to obtain the Matrix, since Skipjack failed to do so. This would give Ironhide an equal playing field for him to duke it out with Starscream, and the protoforms of course. And this battle would ultimately lead for Ironhide to become severely damaged, since Starscream had the ability of flight on his side. But we cannot forget, since Starscream is a coward, he would eventually fly off and leave the fight once Ironhide would land a direct shot on him, leaving Ironhide, the protoforms, and the Constructicon clones to duke it out. But now going back onto our friend Bonecrusher, he would be on the hunt for Sam Witwicky in the Matrix of Leadership. And while going onto this hunt, he would make a fatal error, and that error would be for him to search around the pyramid, believing that those insects would not go back into a war zone. And since Bonecrusher would not find them at the pyramid, he would transform into vehicle mode and scout the area for them. And fun fact, a Buffalo Minesweeper's top speed is 65 miles per hour, which would let him scout the area at a decent speed, while his comrades duked it out on the battlefield. And when the time came for the Fallen to activate a Star Harvester, Bonecrusher was still on the hunt near the pyramid, unaware of what was going on at the top. And this would be his last fatal error, as he was lifted up from the ground, confused on what was going on, to then be dropped down the pyramid, leading to his death, as he rolled all the way down to the ground. But if you remember, Devastator fell down the pyramid too, and Scrapper and Longhaul were confirmed to still be alive, since they made a cameo appearance in Dark of the Moon. And to clarify, the ones that we saw were not Constructicon drones. Well, the reason for this is all the components of Devastator went into stasis lock, which is defined as a critical state of being for a Transformer, a sort of coma that allows a Transformer to stay alive running on the lowest level of power, despite a massive energy loss or traumatic damage. Now this can definitely be in Bonecrusher's favor here, since this could be his golden ticket to escape death. But at the end of the day, if we look at the facts, Bonecrusher never appears again in any other film, or has been referenced ever since. And with the Devastator scenario, only 3 of the 10 Constructicons that combined into Devastator in the film were ever seen again. And with Bonecrusher's odds of survival, I would just have to say that he bit the dust, since it would be the most logical answer. But as always with Bayformers, anything is possible, so I leave it up to you, because at the end of the day, I'm just the guy who gives you the facts. You are the ones who decide what to do with them. But before I end off here, I want to debunk the Dark of the Moon Bonecrusher theory. People claim that this green robot is Bonecrusher, and more precisely the Jungle Attack version of him. But sadly, to burst your bubble, that's not the case, since if you look at this drone, he may be green, but it's nowhere near the Bonecrusher model. And if you look very closely at the drone itself, and I know it's kinda hard to tell, but none of Bonecrusher's parts are on this drone whatsoever. whatsoever, concluding it just to be another foot soldier. And just like that, that was Bonecrushers' alternate fate in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. But before we go, I'd like to give a shout out to my first Patreon supporter, Cheetah. And on his channel, he makes some cool gaming and Transformers videos. And at the time of this recording, he's sitting at 14 subs. So Trans Theorists, let's show some support and try to get him to 100 subs. And his channel will be linked in the description below if you would like to help him out. And if you would like to get your own shout out on Trans Theories, consider taking a look at my Patreon page, which has many awesome perks to choose from, even one for me to make a video of your choice. So don't forget to take a look at that when you have the chance. And with all that out of the way, it looks like that's all for this episode of Fixing Transformers. If you enjoyed, please give a like rating because it'll help the channel a lot. And if you'd also like to subscribe, that'd also be a big help too. And as always, it's been Trans Theories, reminding you guys to never stop theorizing.
When you're caught within the grip of the evil man.